everyone. Welcome back to our continuing education check-in. Today we're talking about a situation where the people that we're into and even ourselves are being hot and cold. And we're talking about if there's any situation where that's good, if what to do if the person that we're interested in is doing that, and just all about the situation in general. And we're going to wrap it up with another profile review. And
as a victim of the hot and cold tactic, I would like to say that I agree with you completely, but I do still think it is a technique. If people use it as a technique, it works. Mm-hmm. Like when people are being hot and cold, I think it's like, as someone on the receiving end of it, I always fall for it. And I know it's happening. And I always still fall for it because I'm like, no. This one is different.
Every single time it's happened, you fell for it.
Well, in my early years, Ethan, I was just like a child. Like I didn't even know that this is a thing. Mm-hmm. And then I started seeing like a bunch of videos on it. And I was like, wait, is this something that everybody knows and like they're doing it on purpose? Mm-hmm. And maybe people are not doing it on purpose. Maybe it's just like their personality or maybe they're confused. But I keep falling for it. Because the hot is just so nice that like you forget about the cold days, you know, like the cold, and then when you're in the cold, you're chasing after that hot. Mm-hmm. Have you been on the receiving end of hot and cold?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting because I think guys usually are more hot and cold, but then I think with girls, when they've been on the receiving end, then all of a sudden they start doing it too.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways it's kind of a defense mechanism because you don't want to put your heart out there because you don't want to be hurt.
True. But
then you end up, by acting that way, you end up potentially hurting people.
Right. Mm-hmm. It turns into like an evil cycle, you know? Like just one bad person makes another person bad, makes them act bad, and then...
Yeah.
There's just, it's like never ending.
Yeah, and it's not even like just with being hot and cold. Mm-hmm. This happens all the time with people who are insecure. Mm-hmm. So all it takes is like one bad partner to like just tell you that thing that really like digs at like your body image or your self-confidence. And then all of a sudden like that's just going to bleed into like all your relationships going forward until you've healed. Mm-hmm. So don't be that person.
Don't be mean to people.
Yeah. And that's much harder to do. Like it's easy to say, it's hard to do. We understand that, especially if you've been hurt before.
Oh yeah. Because when you've been hurt, you use it as like an excuse to be like, at least I have. I know like in this, I guess I'm admitting it, but like I know that because I've experienced this hot and cold and I've been so hurt by other people's inconsistent feelings that when I'm then when I have inconsistent feelings about somebody else and I'm showing them those cycles of hot and cold, like I'm just like, well, someone else did it to me. Like if I had to be a big girl and deal with it, like sucks for this dude, but he has to deal with it now. Yeah. And that's not good. We don't support that.
I think a lot of times, too, people don't even know that they're doing it. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, maybe they're getting closer to someone and then they get a little scared. Okay. And they're like, okay, maybe I need to slow it down. And that's when they start being cold. So the other person starts like getting these temperature changes and it doesn't feel so good. But then the person who is being hot and cold, they are just kind of unsure and they're not maybe even doing it on purpose. For me, there is one girl who I think she gave like lots of like positive signals at the beginning, and so I think she would make an effort to talk to me and I would do the same. And then we would always make a lot of eye contact and it felt like the conversation just could go on and on. And that it felt really good, and it felt like the things that I was telling her she would remember.
Okay.
And like even little things. And then there were times where it just like shifted like 180. And so as I got to know her better, I would like hear about other guys that were making moves.
Okay.
But then it wouldn't feel that cold because she would say, "Oh, I'm not interested in them."
Okay.
So it's like, okay. And then it would like feel a little cold again, because then she would start saying things like, "I wish someone would set me up."
Oh, okay.
And then so I'm like with her, and then I'm like, does that mean that like I'm not an option? Like I will never be an option? Because I'm still like trying to feel things out.
Right.
I'm not sure like how to time things and when to make a move.
Okay.
But like to hear that, I was like, this is probably like, I probably should not do anything.
Right.
And so I think even for her, it wasn't her intention to like...
To like play this game back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
But actually, like, I'm curious what you make of the situation.
I think I agree with you. I think that she was just confused and like she just didn't know what she wanted. And she wasn't like looking around her for like all her options. Like she was just kind of like... Yeah, she was just confused and figuring stuff out for herself. And that's what led to like inconsistency in like her behavior.
So do you think that means that maybe I had a chance? Do you think it means that I wasn't just totally out of the picture?
I think because there was the hot, and like because I have been confused in a situation like that similarly, and like because there was those moments of hot, like yeah, you could have been on like the roller coaster of like options, you know, like you could have been like a stop along the way, like maybe she like thought about it, and when she was like thinking like maybe I should consider Ethan, and then you felt super warmth and like good, and then she was like herself, like by herself without expressing anything to you, decided actually maybe not Ethan, and then she was like, okay, let me think about somebody else, maybe he can set me up with someone, whatever, and then so she made those comments in front of you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So but I really do think it was just super confused feelings.
Wait, how does this roller coaster work? Your feelings can just change like day by day,
yeah,
and then you're like just gonna act on it.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the way that I'm trying to explain it is like, sure, your feelings can change, but a lot of times, like if somebody is like an overthinker, or if they like, you know, like if they're living in their mind as opposed to like where they are, they'll think about a lot of stuff and they'll come up with conclusions on their own, and then they'll just act on it. I do this personally sometimes, or maybe a lot, that like, you know, like for example, a breakup conversation, like I'll already have it in my mind and I already know the conclusion. So it's just a courtesy that I'm telling you. It's not even like we are having a conversation. So same with like if you like somebody or if you're considering someone, like I had my friend that we've talked about a lot in this podcast. I like tried to be like, oh, what if I consider him? But then in my own mind, I came to already a conclusion and I just delivered the conclusion to him, or like showed him with my behavior that, you know, you're not an option or whatever it is. But it was just like something I already just, again, living in my mind, processed it, thought about it, and then just acted on the conclusion.
Yeah. That makes sense. But then once you've made a conclusion on that roller coaster, do you ever go back to being hot or like warm towards
it happens because sometimes you can fall backwards like
So being on the receiving end, knowing that even after someone has made a conclusion, they can still be hot and cold.
Yeah.
How do you like know that they've made a conclusion about you?
So I guess you don't know, and I think the best advice I would give to people about dealing with people that are, you know, very much in their own mind, because I think like I've learned this a lot from my past relationship, that you should be having conversations, you should be figuring stuff out together. You can't just write people off because in your own mind you think it doesn't work, like you played out the scenarios. That's not like real life, you know, you're living in your mind at that point. But I think as somebody on the receiving end, and if you think you're dealing with this type of person who like is kind of more in their own mind, I think it's best for you to just like avoid that person. Like even if you really like them and stuff like that, because you really do have to like just give them time to figure themselves out. Like, so even if they're going hot towards you, unless you're feeling consistency, I think you should, because they're confused. So today's warmth could tomorrow be cold again, and you don't want that, right?
So you're saying fight hot and coldness by being cold.
Not by being cold, but just like by protecting yourself.
Okay.
Just because why would you want to, like, this person that keeps coming to you and, like, they're able to make you hot, make you cold because their, like, actions are affecting you?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to play this game with them? Let them play it and, like, let them figure out where it ends.
Okay, but there's a danger in that. So let's say they're being hot and cold, or they're being hot but not very consistent, and so you kind of back off and you give them space, and you're not. What I'm hearing is like you're not like just always responding to them, like always like meeting them when they ask, and you're just not making yourself like always available to them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what if you like pull away, and then they take that as you being cold, and then they just give up on you?
Then that's okay. Then that person isn't for you. Like, okay, I don't know about this situation with this girl, Ethan, and like obviously you're talking as being on the receiving end, but as being somebody who has these like roller coaster feelings that sometimes change and they're confused. I think like if I'm not consistent in my feelings towards you, that means I'm just not 100% sure about you.
But this goes back to what we were saying in the very beginning, like I kind of doubt you can ever be 100% sure about someone.
True. But let's say while I was on this roller coaster about my one friend, I also met another guy who was serial dater, and I was not so confused about my feelings with him. I was not 100% sure, and like look at us now, like a year later, like nothing. But still, it was at the exact same moment where I knew, okay, both of these people have interest. Like, in this one, for some reason, I'm just not able to, it's like a lot more variation, and like I'm not able to settle on something. Mm-hmm. There's no solid ground for me to stand on with him. Mm-hmm. But for some reason with this other one, even though I know him way less, like my friend, I knew way more. I knew all of his traits. I knew what intentions he had with me. It was like the safer bet. But for some reason, my feelings were just never stable with him. But with the other one, I wasn't 100% sure, but I felt more consistently like, okay, yeah, I'm like attracted to him, or I would like to see where things go. And it was like way less back and forth. Like the back with serial dater was always like, oh, like he hasn't been that nice today, but it was like consistently always in like a positive trajectory. Mm-hmm. It wasn't actually like backwards on my own. It was like backwards because of actions that happened, but with my friend it was just up and down because of my own thoughts, and I was like
yeah. Could you like give some examples or like signs that someone is not being very consistent?
Yeah, totally. So one big thing would be like, like, so you have to really, to know what the cold is for that person, because obviously like we keep saying hot and cold, but that means different things to different people. I think you have to like experience like the hot, and anything that deviates from that would be like a cold.
Okay.
And by the way, sometimes people are allowed to just be neutral as well. Like, you're just having like one of those days, and like that's okay. But like hot, like you think about like the moments where you felt really loved by this person, and when you felt really cherished by this person, and then compare it to when you didn't. Like that's when you know. And then how often is that happening? And like, is that like on a weekly cycle? Is that like, 1 week you're going to see her on the weekend and she's like, she loves you, and maybe she's like holding your arm while you guys are walking something, and then the next week she's like, oh my gosh, can you not touch me please? Like, can I have space? Like, that's an example.
Yeah.
It's like complete extremes. Or like, let's say one weekend she really misses you and she's calling you like 3 times. Like her friends and her are getting ready to go out and she's FaceTiming you like, oh, what do you think about my hair? Da 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 da. And then the next like 2 weeks she just doesn't even text you. Mm-hmm. Because she just forgot about you. Like you weren't on her mind.
So I actually think that you should avoid these people at all costs. And I wonder if you agree with that, but...
I do agree with that.
Okay.
Wait, like what do you mean by at all costs? I think in a romantic sense, yes, you should not consider them, definitely. Yeah. Like we were saying, like let them come to their own conclusion, let them finish this, get off this ride. Mm-hmm. And because like I said, in the 2 situations, my friend versus serial dater, like there was one person that I wasn't on that ride for. Mm-hmm. I kind of already consistently knew. But if you're experiencing the other person is like putting you through these cycles, I agree with you. You should avoid them.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is because behind the curtain, there's a lot going on with someone who is being hot and cold. And I think beyond them just probably being unsure about you,
Yeah.
they are probably unsure of what they're looking for in general.
Yeah.
And whenever you like someone who is in that position, it becomes very hard for them to get into relationships just because they feel like they need to explore their options. They don't even know like what they like or don't like. And so they might entertain you, but they're not gonna cuff you. And so I feel like that is a road that always leads to disappointment. So I do like what you said, Sania, about how when you back away a little bit, you're not always available, you give them space. And that doesn't mean like you don't see them, just probably not super consistently, but you give them that space to grow, and hopefully they get to a point where they kind of do know what they're looking for. And when they don't see you consistently, maybe they start thinking, oh, I really miss what I had with Ethan or with Sania, and maybe that is something that I'm ready for. And then I do think like when someone is hot and cold, they have a lot of other potential bad tendencies. So for example, I think a lot of people who are hot and cold, they are gonna be the same way with other people. So what I mean is, like let's say I liked a girl, she's being hot and cold to me, and maybe I started to like give some space.
Right.
She would just become friends with another guy.
True.
Like at the same time, and then be hot and cold towards him. And this like, because I think the person doing this, it's very validating for them. Like when they are being hot and cold with someone, I think most of the time, like the other person falls for it.
Yeah.
And so when the other person falls for it and you're doing this, they're giving you attention, they're giving you validation, so it feels good. And so this person wants to keep doing it. And they'll just like do it with a bunch of people.
Right.
I think not always, but it could be at the same time. And I've seen that happen.
No, true. Okay, I'm going to like make a big distinction here because like I said, I gave that example of when I was hot and cold to somebody I cared about a lot. But I will say what you were saying earlier, that, you know, what kind of leads to somebody's hot and cold behavior. And I liked where the discussion was in the beginning where, oh, like hot and cold behavior, this inconsistency comes from that person being confused within themselves, confused about you, like just confused altogether, right? So that was like the first type that we were just talking about. The second type that you're saying, that person is feeding off of that attention. They know that their behavior will affect you. They know that when they go cold, you're going to come chasing after them because asking, oh, what's wrong? What happened? And that person is the person that I've been on the receiving end of. And I'm saying that this guy was hot and cold. Maybe he was confused, but I really don't think he was confused. I think he knew the game that he was playing, and he knew, you know, like the push and pull.
Yeah.
And that person, yeah, you're right, plays this game with many people. He feeds off of this like attention. He feeds off of like getting in your mind. You know, like just knowing that like, yeah, just knowing that you are playing this game with him, that you're stuck on this ride with him.
Yeah. How were you able to know that he was that second type as opposed to the first
type?
Confused type?
Well, because at least from the way that like he would express himself to me, because me and him were friends for a very, very long time, like for like, oh my God, like 5 or 6 or 7 years. Like we were friends for a very long time. And then like, we realized like, oh, maybe there's like feelings between us, whatever, like after we finished school. And so he just like all his life, like, because I knew him so well, like he was always very sure about his feelings. Like whenever he would say something, there was no back and forth. You know, like let's say he said, okay, I want to get Italian for dinner tonight. There was no back and forth like, oh, I don't know if I really want. No, it's like he knew what he wanted. Oh, I want to live here. I'm going to move here. I'm going to do this job. And like he, you know, he never really talked about having lots of regrets and being like, oh, maybe I should have done this. There was no confusion in the way that he was thinking, that he was expressing himself. So like I kind of knew that he knew his stuff. He had it all sort of figured out.
Wow.
And so that's why when he was inconsistent with me, and because he also knew me really well, and so he knows that I get, and I'm sure a lot of people get very easily pulled into this like cycle. Like it almost became like a game. Like it was like I said, my cycle would repeat like every 3 days or something. And we would always talk about it. It would be like, we'd be very, very hot. You know, like he'd be leaving work and he'd be like, oh, like da-da-da, like I'm heading back to your house. Like put on your shoes, like let's go get ice cream. Very hot. You're leaving work. The first thing you think of is this. You want to hang out. You want to do something so sweet. And then 2 days later, like I just don't hear from you. And like, you know that I don't hear from you. And I'm used to like having a FaceTime from you every single day. And then I knew it was cold. And I knew that he knew, because every time I would get through that cold period, maybe not that day, but maybe 2 days later, because I'm weak, like I would reach out and be like, hey, like, so what happened? Why didn't you call me? And then he'd be like, oh, well, why didn't you? And it was always my fault. Everything was always about me. Nothing was ever his fault. It was very much like, oh, but you could have done it if you wanted to hear from me. And I was like, but I'm used to you doing it every day. And it's like, yeah, but I got busy. Like, you should have done it if you wanted to hear from me.
Yeah.
So everything was my fault. Like, that's another thing. Like, the confused feelings people, at least if they're self-aware, they're not going to blame you. They're going to use I statements. They're going to say, I'm confused. I don't know what I want. There's something about, you know, our relationship that just I haven't figured out yet, so I can't move forward.
Yeah.
But these other people that are, like, using this as a tool to, like, make you obsessed with them, they make it all about you. They're like, oh, but you're like this. Oh, but you're confused. Like, oh, why didn't you do this? Like, and that's how I knew that he was of the second category.
Wow, that was really well said. And so I would call those people the players.
Yes,
and
he's such a player.
I think you just described, like, classic avoidant behavior. And so we're definitely going to do an episode where we talk about these attachment styles.
Can we put up the book?
Yeah, okay.
It's going to be up here, just so that everyone knows. It's a very useful book. I wish I read it earlier. I'm only halfway through.
Halfway? I thought you were more.
I'm still only halfway.
Bro, it's been like half a year with this girl reading this book.
I finished other books along the way, okay? But, well, because I started reading it, and it's a very deep book. Like, it makes you really reflect on yourself. And I was like, whoa, like, so I took a little break, but I do want to finish it.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. It is classic avoidant behavior. I just didn't even know that was a thing back then when I was experiencing it.
Yeah. And I've been waiting for Sania to finish this book so we can do an episode on it. But just to, like, give you guys a little bit of an idea of, like, what an avoidant person is. Like, even if you know this already, like, we're sorry, but someone who is avoidant is they fear intimacy. It doesn't mean that they don't want intimacy. And so, like, intimacy is okay with them. But when it gets past, like, a certain threshold, then they start pulling away. And in general, people who are avoidant are good communicators.
Very good.
And so, like, what you're seeing in the situation that Sania said is, like, you see a guy who is sure of himself and also, like, communicates well, but then when, like, the feelings get too intense or they feel suffocated, they just start pulling away, and then they're not communicating super well. I mean, in general, like, if you call them out, they still will, but then they'll do things like gaslighting you and, like, putting it back on you, and a lot of times that is their defense mechanism to justify their behavior. And so I really like how you described that, but now that you said it that way, I see it in a lot of guys, like even the bomber is exactly like
and that's why I keep getting stuck in the same cycle, because like, even though I'm aware of all this, we're talking about this roller coaster, we know that these people are avoidant and this and that. For some reason, I keep finding myself, you know, Ethan and I talked this weekend, and it turns out I keep being attracted to the wrong guys. And one consistent trait that they all have is this hot and cold cycle.
I think that's only half the story, though. So, like, yes, you are attracted to the wrong guys, but we've talked about why these guys are attractive. Like, if you guys listen to episode 15, having a guy who is sure of himself and will, like, communicate what they want and what they need is attractive in general. And that's why they're more successful. But then I think the other thing that's going on is that when you want someone to talk to, you'll just kind of jump into anything.
Is Ethan calling me desperate right now?
No. I don't think that's desperate, but
when you want someone to talk to,
it's like you're just doing it for the plot. And I don't think that's desperate, because someone who's truly desperate, they're just gonna like throw themselves at other people and like just try to get into a relationship. But I don't think you're like that.
You're right. It is for the plot.
Yeah.
But then sometimes like I try to be like that fun girl, like that cool, like, oh yeah, it's for the plot. And then because I'm emotional, so I catch feelings. And then the plot becomes really thickened, and then I'm stuck in it. But you're right. The bomber exhibits this behavior. If you ever knew, like, my first ex, like, he has the exact same behavior. Well, that's how he started.
Okay.
And, like, I think that's why I think that relationship really messed me up, I guess, because that relationship also started very hot and cold for, like, a whole year. Like, I would be sobbing big, fat, crying tears in the library at school. And my friends would be like, okay, like, just don't talk to him, da-da-da. And there I would go, like, in a repeat, like, just like a rinse and repeat cycle for a whole... Not a whole year, let me say like at least 4 months. And everybody, like my closest friends were like, okay, like you really should stay away from him. He's not good for you. And my he wouldn't get into my thick head. Like, I don't know, I just kept doing it. And then somehow after those 4 months, after summer break, he came back and then we were in a relationship and the hot and cold was gone. He was just consistently warm. He was like leaning into his feelings. He was affectionate. Like, that hot and cold cycle was fully cured out of him. But it got cured out of him all on his own. I did nothing.
Wow.
He came and he decided and he expressed like, oh, I actually have interest in you now. And he was like very open, communicated that. But again, I did nothing for it. So you know how I was telling you, like, if someone is putting you through these cycles, like they need to finish their ride. Whether that ends up with them being with you or them being with someone else, like it's all on them to figure out. There's nothing, like, and I mean nothing under the sun that you can do.
Yeah.
You can't show them that you're the perfect person to pull them off that ride. You can't go icy cold and ghost them and then make them like miss you so much that they're going to get off. No, that is their ride. You cannot affect it.
Yeah. That's really well said too. So I guess now I kind of have a question. So we've talked about the players and then we talked about the people who are confused.
Yes.
And so with both groups of people who are hot and cold, are you treating them the same way? Like, are you giving both of them space? I think what I'm hearing is for the confused people, you give them space and they figure things out on their end.
Right.
And then for the players, like, you just run away. Like, at least that's what I'm thinking right now.
Okay. I think as from the receiving end, because sometimes it's not easy to distinguish, is this person playing or is this person like, like if you don't know them so well. Like I said, like the player that I was talking about, like I knew him so well. But let's say you have only known them a few months and you can't really figure out like, oh, am I dealing with a player or am I dealing with someone that's just truly confused? I say in both of those cases, you just like X them out as an option on your list of people if you like them. And just, again, like, if they like you, they will, like, let them do the work.
Okay. I
think for both cases, yeah.
Okay, cool. So now jumping back into episode 15, you mentioned something that I would like to talk about a little more.
Okay.
And you talked about how when you're, like, in the talking stage, sometimes it's better if the guy isn't super nice.
Yeah.
And then like when you start dating, he like leans into that nice side and is like very accommodating and
yeah.
I guess servant hearted.
Yeah.
And I guess like if we translate that to like hot and coldness, like maybe like in the talking stage they're not like hot all the time, but then you're saying like when they're in a relationship it should be like consistent.
I love that you drew these parallels and you tied these two things together because I think we might just be very clearly identifying a big like issue that I have. Like, maybe this is like, maybe that piece of advice that I gave, like, now that we're talking about the hot and cold in this episode, and then you brought up this thing about, like, oh, like, Sania suggests that, you know, please be hot and cold when you're in the talking stage, but then later on be really nice. Like, maybe that's, like, a me problem. I don't think that that's, like, real advice for everyone.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the conclusion I'm kind of getting. So you're asking me to comment on what I said in episode 15, and I think I said that because for, like, historically for me, anytime I felt super close to someone or anytime I've wanted to feel that warmth and closeness with someone, it's because they made me go through these cycles. And so I never felt like stable or like peace or consistency in like their feelings towards me. And so that's what made me like them. In my mind, that's what made me feel like, oh my gosh, I want them. I like them because I want to chase them and I want to hold on to that hot feeling. And then after we went through a couple of cycles and then they were like, oh, I like you. And I said, I like you too. And then things were warm. And then in my mind, that's like, oh, happily ever after. But now we're talking about it on this episode. And I'm like, that's like not very healthy at all. And it's not a good thing that I'm attracted to that. If people out there are attracted to that, like that is not a good thing. I still do believe, you know, because episode 15, like about nice guys finishing last, I still think like, I think a big thing that we said in that episode is like nice guys are too compromising. You don't need to be compromising. Like compromising versus being hot and cold is like different. You can be consistent in your feelings, but not compromise with what you want and your values and your desires.
Yeah.
So that's like the distinguishing factor between like nice guys versus like being nice or being hot all the time. So I think you can be consistent, but not compromising.
Yeah.
Does that answer kind of what you were trying to ask?
Definitely. I think you've now given a clear idea of what we think you should look for.
Yeah.
This is only part of like the whole package.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
you want to find someone whose feelings towards you is consistent.
Yeah.
And you want someone who is also confident in what they want and have like goals, like even in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's such a different feeling, like being with someone like that as opposed to someone who will like say one thing and then do another.
Yeah.
And you just never really know where you stand with them.
Yeah.
And you feel like you really have to fight for the relationship. But the problem is like you're fighting two battles. You're fighting for yourself and then you're also fighting for them because they're not doing the fighting.
Yeah, true. Completely true. Well put.
So it's just you should really protect yourself in those situations. There are people who will be consistent in their feelings and also know what they want.
Without being pushovers.
And so don't feel like you have to settle. Even though a lot of the people you might know are being hot and cold. And then I do want to call out myself for something that I said in episode 15. And I said sometimes it's good to be hot and cold. Like there's some situations where that like you should do that. And so I think I said that because in some situations where the other person is being inconsistent and they have no idea like what they're looking for, in those situations I think you need to be cold and not cold in like a mean way. But like Sania said, like you need to pull away, but pull away in a way that you kind of remove yourself from your attachment to them. Okay. Because it's easy to like pull away and then like the next moment they reach out, you're like immediately there. Yeah. I think being cold in that situation means you're removing your emotional attachment. And it's gonna be helpful for you to not like fall into their trap again, but it's really hard to do. It's very hard to do. And so I think that's when like being cold is necessary just so that you can protect yourself and I think for me, the only way that I was ever able to successfully like detach myself from my emotions towards someone was I needed my friends to like be there and remind me, but I had to like get to a point where I was like, this person is just not a good fit for me.
Right.
Like slowly I had to like reason with myself. Like every morning, like lying in my bed, every evening, like lying on my bed, thinking about it.
Okay.
I had to like make peace with, if it doesn't work out with this person, like first of all, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Like these qualities I can find in another person.
Sure. Without all the negative stuff.
But also like, what are the things that I'm turning a blind eye to? Like beyond like them being hot and cold, there's probably like a lot behind that. And what are the things that they are hiding that make them not a good fit? And I think your friends can help you with this because, like, for me, I wasn't, like, logical for a long time. And that's when, like, because your friends, like, hopefully they know you well and they can, like, speak some sense into you.
And then if you're like me and you don't listen to your friends' very valid and sane advice, I'd recommend doing what Ethan said. I think so much, I know this, like, relationship podcast and, you know, it's about getting that other person and being in, like, a happy relation with another human being, but a lot of that has to do with like working on yourself and like spending time with your thoughts. And you know, you said you would lie awake at night or in the morning and just like convince yourself that, you know, and like really try to look objectively at this person. I think that that's so important. Like I'm going through cycles of hot and cold again, I feel like, and I think that that's something I need to do. I think no matter how many, you know, bad qualities you list about the bomber, how many times my friend will tell me like, oh, he's not a good fit, like leave it alone, it's messy. I think at the end of the day, it is you know, you can be sneaky and go around your friends and still do what you want. I've done it in the past. So it really has to be you deciding and you coming to terms with it. And if you're good like Ethan and you listen to your friend's advice, like you should do that. Or maybe they help guide your thoughts when you're thinking alone, but at the end of the day, you have to come to those terms on your own.
Yeah.
And then act on it.
I'm not all good. Like I think one other thing that I did that I don't know how helpful it was, but I just kept telling myself that they're ugly.
But were they ugly? In your eyes, they weren't. I can try that too, because they are also ugly.
Oh my gosh. I think like it's okay to like use that to like get over someone, but then it's like hopefully that's only used to like get over someone and not like
in a mean way
define how you actually view them. Okay.
I think, also thinking about how much you have to like offer and how much you bring to the table and just like valuing yourself.
Yeah, keep you from tough.
I don't know, I like, because I think about that a lot. I'm just like, here I am being put through this like cycle for what? Like, I'm so sure about my feelings. I know that if they one day decided to be hot, I could treat them so good. And it's not my job to convince them of that. Like, if they can't see it themselves, then like...
But then I think on the flip side, yes, like, you feel that way. But then you're like... If they would just respond a certain way, like, I would be there for them. Like, I would give them all this love. And like, everything that makes me valuable, they would have.
Yeah. And my friend that I talked about in my example, like, he was like that. And because we were so close, he was able to say that stuff to me. But as somebody putting him through hot and cold, it didn't matter. I'm going to be so... And this is so rude. But, like, even sitting here now... not in that really like situation anymore, I will still say it didn't matter that he said that.
Yeah.
So you just have to take that as like your value and like collect all of your love and everything and like, I don't even want to take it away, like just put it back into yourself. I like saw a quote the other day and it said like all the good qualities that you see in other people, you have them yourself. All the qualities you want in somebody else, you have them. You know, like, let's say you like somebody who's loyal. Like, it's because you're loyal. That's why you're looking for that in, like, a partner. You value that thing. Or, like, trust or, like, good communication. Like, whatever all those things might be. So it's just, like, instead of, like, waiting for them to give you all those things, you already have them. So, like, leave their ugly selves alone.
But then the goal is still to find someone like that.
Yeah, true, but it's just not this person.
Yeah. Yeah, don't let your good qualities be like shared between the two of you, and like let
Exactly,
that be the level that you're at.
Yeah.
Like find someone who has those qualities
And
too.
who'll add
and
to
then,
it.
Yeah.
I
and
agree
then-
completely.
Yeah.
Math minds. I saw those graphs in my mind before you did it.
Simple graphs.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think the last thing that I just want to say is if you like someone, you want to pursue them, this is really hard to do because we've all been hurt in many ways, but if you are in that stage, it's really important to be consistent in how you show your feelings, and also to like communicate well on what's going on. So Sania and I, we don't promote and we don't support being hot and cold. Actually, like in any situation, like even pulling away, like that's not being hot and cold. That's just like protecting yourself.
Even when you're confused, you should communicate that confusion and set that other person free.
Yeah, and so. And then I think the scary part is like making your feelings consistent, because at the same time, like we want to protect ourselves. We don't want to put our hearts out there and then have the other person not reciprocate and hurt us. And so I think to go into it and do it well, like doing the pursuit well, you have to buy into two things. You have to buy into the fact that if you want this to have like a very healthy foundation, you need to be consistent in your feelings, which means that you're communicating well, you're not being hot and cold, whatever you say, you do, and you follow through. But then at the same time, you keep in mind that if the other person, if it doesn't work out with them, it's not the end of the world. This doesn't define you. You are like, no matter what happens, this is a growing opportunity, but this person is still worth pursuing, in your opinion. And even if they reject you, it doesn't mean like your friendship with them has to be over. It doesn't mean that you won't have chances with other people. So I think I just don't want any of you to like feel like this becomes a life and death situation. No, like we all go through like good points like in our like journey towards healthy relationships, and then we also go through like really low lows. But don't just like lock yourself in the mindset that it has to be like this one person. But give it a try, and if you actually like them, like be consistent and like communicate. Okay, do you have anything else? Okay, so with that, we're gonna transition into our end segment, and we're gonna bring back a profile review. And so
I promise you guys I'm gonna get my profile review out here soon.
but you're taking a break.
Yeah, but I can still unpause my profile and get everyone's feedback so that when I'm done with my break, I'm ready. I come back strong.
Okay.
I guess my break's not going so well because in the past hour I forgot that I was going on a break and Ethan had to remind me. My break wasn't as strong as Ethan's break. You're still not on the dating apps, right?
No, I'm not going back.
We'll keep you guys posted.
I'm not. It's like we can have an episode on that too. But okay, so we're not gonna review her name, but thank you so much for sending us your profile, and we're just gonna go through it. So this is another Hinge profile, and so right off the bat, like this is first picture.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
I like the picture. It's very artistic. I think she looks great. I like the pose, the angle. It's very unique, very different. I think maybe as the first photo, I would have put a different, like the caption.
Okay.
Like the felt cute might delete later.
Yeah.
Like I would want the first picture to be like, you know, put your Delulu glasses on and be confident. Who can like, you know, like the felt cute might delete later. Maybe put it for a different picture.
Okay.
Does that mean, I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah. So.
Because like it's a very good picture. It shouldn't be deleted later.
Exactly.
You know? So just be like, or, you know, you could say something a little more like the prompt can be a little more like, oh, in my model era. Like be obsessed with yourself, at least in the beginning of the profile, you know? You don't need to poke fun at yourself yet. This is just like, I think I say this so much. This is your trap me photo.
Yeah.
So trap them with your confidence because the photo's already trapping me.
Yeah, right. So I think you're saying this is a good first photo.
Great first photo.
But then she doesn't need that caption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if there, I don't know, if there has to be a caption, like make it a little more self-obsessed caption, girl. Like, yeah.
Are you sure you're ready for this?
Get Ethan to write your prompts.
I could, yeah. I think this is a great first photo.
Yeah.
And it makes me curious to see more.
Yeah.
All right. So this is like one of the poll options.
Ooh. And the answers are like her inputs, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is a very good prompt.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like we talk a lot on this podcast, like prompts are like, they should be things that are conversation starters, that tell us a little bit about you, but that are easy to respond to as a guy looking at this profile. And I think like, even as a girl looking at this girl, I could tell you a lot about an object I've always desired and what I would like to splurge on. Like, I think it gives you a lot of room to comment and start a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I like the way that you've worded things. It's very poetic.
Yeah.
It feels like just very well put together. Everything flows well. Like you talk about the object and then the experience and then the future.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah,
it's
so
nice to read.
It feels tied in very well. It's also a little deep.
It is.
And I think my one hesitation is, so there's a lot of people who like will kind of know like how to answer, but I think a lot of people who are not very like self-reflective, do you think they might have a hard time with this?
No, I don't think so. I think, especially on dating profiles, I don't like to be that deep right away if I don't know you. But I think there's a light and fluffy way to answer this too. Like an object I've always wanted.
I see.
This pair of like shoes. An experience I'll never forget. Like, oh, that one time I was taking a walk on a boardwalk. Like, I don't know, anything. And like a future you hope to have, like a house in like Beverly Hills. Like it could be so fluffy and like not have any meaning. Or you could be very, very deep with it and be like, oh, future I hope to have like family and kids and da-da-da-da-da and like good values and whatever.
Yeah,
I think you could go either way.
I see it more now too. It's like if you want to like be a little more lighthearted, the first or second one is a good option. But I also think like the deep thinkers, then they would appreciate that third option.
True. And like I said, the third option you can still answer fluffy. A future you hope to have, a future without coffee. Like, you can make it what you want. I think there's room in there for both.
Okay.
I like this one personally.
What if they like respond to one of these and you can't relate at all? Like,
then you can just be like, whoa, really? Like, tell me more. Like, then that's like a good opportunity to learn about someone that's different than you, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you've convinced me.
Yeah,
and like,
yay.
I'm buying into this.
Guys, we need a clip of this because Ethan never agrees with me or never gets convinced like this.
No, that's not true.
You never get convinced. You stick to yours. So I'm really happy that I've convinced you.
Okay. I'm happy too. This has really grown on me in the last 2 minutes. Okay, another prompt.
Ooh. I really like this one too. I don't know if I just like also really like carbs.
Yeah. I think maybe I would say carbs, like your favorite carbs ranked. I'll go first.
Instead of starch foods.
Yeah, I think it's just a little too proper.
Wordy. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I can agree with that. Maybe a little bit more like chill. Yeah. That's my only comments on this.
And
I would put rice first for me, personally.
Yeah. I think also, like, when I see noodles, I think, like, I don't know, Asian noodles.
Yeah.
But, like, I would also put pasta somewhere.
Maybe she doesn't like pasta, though. Maybe she just likes ramen, like noodles. Because I also read noodles as, like, noodles, not pasta or not spaghetti.
Yeah, but then you can write that too, right? No, maybe you don't want to, like...
Give it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree with Ethan. Just, like, starch foods could be carbs. But, yeah, that's it. That's the only comment on this one. But, in general, I really like this, like... Because it tells me you like food. You don't think?
I think I'm a little hesitant because how much are you really getting to know the person based on the response?
I think I'm getting to know a lot because, like, a lot of girls out there won't touch carbs, or they're like, you know, this tells me, like, her type of personality a little bit. I'm personally, from these 3 slides that we just swiped through, I feel like I'm learning a lot about her. I know she's very good at, like, a very good writer, artsy from the first photo, and then I'm learning that, like, she's comfortable in who she is and she's cool with, like, presenting that.
I'm iffy about this
the carbs one.
The conversation never it like stays at that level, right?
Yeah, it doesn't go deeper.
And then it could also die.
Yes,
like
it
if
can.
you're just
That's
talking
true.
about carbs. So that's what I'm afraid of.
Okay, that's fair.
But that doesn't have to happen. Okay, so now we see the stats.
I think these are solid. Like, maybe you don't need to say... Oh, wait, what is at freelance? Oh, that means...
It means that she does her... she's her own boss, I think.
Oh, okay. So, like, I would say, like, for the only comment I have...
No, she's not her own boss, but, like, she, like...
Freelancing, yeah.
Yeah, she, like, works for...
Different people.
Yeah.
Maybe the only comment I would say for this one, I like all of the answers. I think they're all just the right amount of detail, just the work, like, the profession. I would just say what you do, like set design assistant or set designer. Like, you don't need to be so detailed and give, like the I don't know, the minute details of what you do and who you do it for.
I forget if I've brought this up in the past, but when people say they're looking for a long-term relationship open to short, it always confuses me. Because I'm like, which one are you actually, like, looking for? So she's clearly looking for a long-term relationship, but then why is she open to short? To me, it gives the feeling that she's also open to exploring, is not really sure of what she's looking for yet.
Okay,
and also, but then on the other side, she also could be like, I don't want to deter any potential options by, like, saying long-term relationship.
The way that I was reading this was like, long-term relationship open to short, as in, like, as a girl, if I would put that, because a lot of guys get scared of, like, reading long-term relationship. I know that maybe it doesn't scare you, but a lot of other people maybe that are, like, don't know what they want yet, they're like, oh my gosh, long-term relationship. So by putting open to short as a girl, I think she's just being like, she still wants the long-term, but, like, at least, you know, like, it means, like, okay, at least let's go on a date and see, like, you know, maybe it'll take some of the pressure off. Instead of saying, like, if you go on a date, it's long-term only. It's like, okay, let's just go on a date and see where it goes. But where I would like it to go is in a long-term relationship direction.
Okay, so, like keeping that in mind, do you think everyone who's looking for a long-term relationship should put that open to short? Just like for what you said?
I would put it. Because open to short, again, is just, it's more for the guy just to take some of the pressure off and to not feel so intense by, you know, like, when you're asking her to go on a date, so that you don't have to be like, oh my gosh, I have to make sure I really like her and I have to make sure I vet her fully before I even go on a first date because she only wants long term and I only want long term. This could just be like, sometimes, to be honest with you, I don't know, I'll have to, like, dig out my profile, but I think I don't even put this part.
Wow.
Because I think if you just... Because I think you just meet someone and then you just you feel things out and you can just talk about it. Like, oh, maybe I meet someone and we hit it off and he's like, I actually don't want a relationship at all. And it's like, oh, maybe this is a mistake, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud.
I think so, Sania.
Maybe I should put it. But I don't think the open to short is a bad thing.
So I disagree. I think that if you put long-term relationship, some guys will still shoot their shot.
True.
Maybe they're unsure, but if the rest of the profile is they like, they're still gonna try, even if they are not sure they themselves are looking for a long-term relationship.
Okay.
And so those guys will still try. I am scared because I think a lot of times guys will see this like long-term relationship open to short and think, okay, maybe this girl, like, she's open to something more casual, and you might attract the wrong type of guys. I think if you really want a long-term relationship that leads to like something solid, you should just say that. And some guys will still try.
You know what, Ethan? In this one, I think I'll agree with you. Because I kept saying it, pushing my perspective as a girl, but you're right. Guys could read that as like, oh, she's down for just like to hang out. Okay.
Okay.
I've been convinced. Oh, this is so cute. I really like this. And I like the caption thing with it too, life outtake. But like, she just thinks life's fun, giggly, like she's out. She looks cute, good smile.
From this picture, I can just tell like she's a very sweet girl, like very down to earth. Like this is not like, this doesn't give me the impression that she's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but you kind of know,
I know
like
what
the
you're
girl
saying.
that I'm talking about, right?
No, totally.
Yeah.
But she's just like that sweet, like nice girl.
Yeah.
And fun. She looks bubbly, fun. Like that's a good smile. Like that's a really amazing candid. Like
Yeah. Yeah, but that straw is like a little too long
Massive.
for you. Awesome. I love it.
Okay, me and my best friend. And I love that you put this towards the end. I think that they're...
This is in the middle.
Okay, well, I really like a funny photo in there. Like something, like we say, like your human side photo. Like I think this is great. I know Ethan didn't like the human funny photo on Val's profile. I think this one's cute. It's not like amazing, but it shows me that you can laugh at yourself, and that's so nice. Ethan's not happy.
Oh, man.
Leave the being funny to the guys, clearly.
I think it's okay to be funny, but I think, like, I still want to, like, see more of you first.
Okay.
So, like, I want to see, like, but, like, in this picture, like, I'm not exactly sure if she's on the left or the right.
I don't know that
and
either.
I can't like I still want to see more of her, like her face and stuff, and it's kind of all covered.
Maybe let's... I kind of agree with what you're saying.
So I do think it's okay to show your fun side. Like, I know, like, I like have given some profiles a hard time for that, but I think this one is like, I just like go back and forth because it also covers so much of like your features.
Maybe it looks like it was during COVID. I don't know. But let's move it down, I guess. It's like a good suggestion.
Okay.
Or change it for a different funny photo that shows more of you. Because, yeah, you're right. We haven't seen enough of her yet. One
thing that I haven't mentioned, or we haven't mentioned, but happens on Hinge, is that sometimes Hinge will just reorder your pictures. And
really?
They like do it as like part of like a testing algorithm or something to see like what pictures work better in general. But if like one of your end pictures like suddenly gets moved up, so actually like I think also this happens for like if I'm swiping and then there's someone that I'm unsure about, so I haven't swiped left or right yet, and I close the app and I go back later and their profile shows up again because I haven't like swiped left or right. A lot of times then the pictures shuffle.
Damn, all the advice I've been giving has been about rearranging photos.
And it's still worth it because I think the first time you see a profile, the order is there.
Oh, okay.
And it's only like when like they've reappeared another time that Hinge may or may not reshuffle. So I'm saying like this picture overall is not the strongest just because it hides a lot.
Yeah, let's do another funny picture.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Okay.
This is so good.
A lot of girls write this.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
love the
not
way
a
she
lot.
put it, the thingy. That's what I call it too. I don't know if it has a real name.
Yeah.
But like I was reading
one
it
knows.
and I can like picture it happening and like I can picture you saying it and I think it's hilarious. It's great.
Yeah.
Very relatable.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I think this one is also good because it's easy to respond to. It's relatable.
I guess lots of girls have it. That's why Ethan knows his. What's your go-to response for this one?
I don't think I've ever responded to this one.
Oh.
But then, like, I would say something like, better drive fast then. Or maybe you need, like, maybe you need to be in my car or something.
Guys, please, I need comments on this. Is what Ethan's saying like,
Okay,
is that
no, I take
Riz,
that back.
or-
No. I think it's actually not Riz, and I've just been out of the game. Please don't hate me. I know, like, that's not that good.
It's okay. We put Ethan on the spot. Sorry. The coffee's hitting you guys.
And I have nothing. My throat is just drying out, and my brain and my Riz.
Try it out, Riz.
Okay.
Okay. How my friends see me. And then I geek out on architecture and K-dramas.
Mm-hmm.
I like that I geek out on. Those are good topics people can bring up. The how my friends see me. Okay, I'm feeling like too many funny photos now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should just be one.
Yeah. And like, you know, this one's great. It shows that you travel. Like, I can see that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think what would, like, really, like, catch me in this picture would be this picture and then, like, of you smiling.
Yeah. Because it's a really great viewpoint.
Yeah.
Like, I think, you know, those like travel photos, like you could go like really hard with them.
Mm-hmm. But I love the outfit. Like,
Yeah.
your hair is perfect.
Yeah, like the outfit looks really great with the background. Like,
Yeah.
This could have been like not a funny photo.
Yeah, but I think just one. Okay, how would you feel if she took away the previous picture with, like, the alien glasses and then just had this one?
This is fine, but I would just move it like way down. I don't like this one so much as a funny photo. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Same, because we know that if you just swiped right or left on your camera roll, there would be that
one with a smile. That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah. Okay.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to see that one instead. Because everything, like the framing, like everything's kind of perfect. I agree.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I love that I geek out on just some more dimensions too.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand her personality. But I would like to see more from the photos, I guess.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that she's, like, very cultured.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I like that.
Dude, this should have been way up higher in my personal opinion.
Uh-huh.
Just because, again, it's just showing me how you look. Yeah.
What do you think of her, like, not smiling? Like,
This is
just,
a
like,
smile.
That's not a smile.
I don't think smiles need to be full grinning with teeth. I think this is a great smile. It's like a model smile. It's like a little smile. I think it's good. Your hair looks really nice. It's grad day. Like, you know, or like, yeah, I really like it. It gives me an idea of, like, you know, maybe she doesn't like to wear, like, super heavy makeup because it's grad day. Like, that's your, you know? I think it's really good.
Okay.
I think I would like to see, like, a more zoomed out photo. Like, in general, in the whole profile. But that's my only comment. This photo as an individual photo is great.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm not learning a lot more from this picture.
Yeah.
So I'm a little hesitant. But I do agree, like, I would like to see a zoomed out picture. And so
like, maybe, like, same grad day photo, but just, like, a little bit zoomed out, you know?
Okay, I forget. Okay, no, there's another one.
Okay, clearly you're a very funny girl because
Yeah.
you got 3 funny photos.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Ethan's a hater of funny girls.
No, that's not true. I love girls, like, who are funny with personality.
Yeah, okay. Please, just one funny photo.
Mm-hmm.
I would limit it to one. The alien one was two. I couldn't figure out who you were, which Ethan was right. The second one, like, I know there's a pretty photo. That one is, like, too pretty to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, like, hilarious, but, like, I don't know. I don't see you.
Yeah.
I see that you're doing funny things. You're out in public wearing this dinosaur suit, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I like the caption, this photo, like, great, funny to respond to, but that could be anyone in that suit. Like, this is your profile.
Yeah. I think to, like, summarize what Sania just said, this is, like, for you to, like, really show off yourself, and then we just can't see you in this picture. Mm-hmm. Also, I would have a very hard time captioning this photo.
What do you mean?
Okay, how would you do it?
This is T-Rex town. Like, he looks like a mayor leaning over his, like this is his town, man. Like, you know, he's like a king, like, overlooking his town, like, his city, his whatever.
Yeah, so how would you caption the photo?
This is T-Rex town.
Okay, I'm just not that creative, I guess.
I'm very uncreative, but please don't hate on my uncreativity.
Okay. Okay, and I think this is the last one, yeah.
Yeah. I'm very uncreative. A potential name I suggested for this podcast was Concrete Love. Do you remember that?
No, of course I remember.
So maybe that's my uncreative caption, but I think you could come up with something.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We hope that this was helpful for you, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.